Hey Procraftinators, it's my favorite day of the month. It's Collab Day with Renee from Delaney Jane Cards. This month we are focusing on background dies. And I made a Slimline card with a regular A2 background die. First I'm going to do an ink blended panel because, well, that's my thing. I like to ink blend, of course. So I'm starting off here with Broken China. And honestly, I had no plan for this whatsoever. So I started to just ink blend a little bit, and I was gonna do maybe like an ombre look, and then I decided kind of partway through here that that's not what I was gonna do at all. So then I started to do some little blotches, splotches of blending here and change my plan totally. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to do some random ink blending little blotches here and there. And I really don't care that my ink blending is not going to be perfect on this panel at all because, well, like I said, we're going to cut it with a background die. So it does not matter that it's, if it's not perfect. So I'm just going to lay down some color and get it on here real quick. So I have moved on, my second color was Peacock Feathers, and then I moved on to Salty Ocean. And sorry about my camera and its autofocus. It does this a couple times throughout the video, and I have no idea what its deal is. So not sure what its deal is there, but it's going to do it a couple times. It's not real bad, but it is going to do it a few times throughout the video. So just going to apologize for that right out front here. So I'm just going to get the last little bit of color on here, and then we are going to move on. So I'm just finishing up. I am trying to get it somewhat even, but I'm not really caring that it's not perfect. And usually you know that I do. I do care that it's perfect, but this time I'm not because, like I said, we're going to die cut this. So I'm just going to spray it with some water here real quick before we die cut it. Well, I'm going to dry it before we die cut it, but I do not show that on screen. But I am going to spray it with some water. I did some misting, and then I did some like half squeezes on the little trigger there on my bottle to get some splatters of water there. And then I'm taking this Fun Stampers Journey die. It's called the Persian Garden background die. And this die has two pieces. So we've got the center piece here that just cuts out the little design. And then it also has a frame die that goes around it. So if you wanted to cut out your card panel, it would do that as well. I'm not going to be using that because we're doing a slimline card, but I will show it here in a minute just to show you that it does indeed have two pieces. So you could do either way if you were doing an A2 sized card. See, there it is, but I'm not using it. That was what that little hand gesture was. The great thing about having a two-piece background die like that is that because I'm not using that frame, I don't have to do any partial die cutting. So it's not going to cut my slimline card panel in half, or well, not quite in half, but you know what I mean. Like I'm only cutting the design into my panel, so I don't have to do the partial die cutting technique here. It's only cutting the design into my panel, if that makes any sense. So I didn't have to do any fancy die cutting techniques. So now here I'm just lining up the panel again. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to do it from the front or the back, so I did eventually decide to line it up from the back, that would be easier because I could see the little cut blades in the die. So I'm just going to line it up and get it taped down. I did struggle a little bit because I'm like, oh no, where am I going to put the tape that I'm not going to have to dig it out of my die? But I did eventually just decide to stick that tape on there and have to deal with that tape later. So I'm just going to get that lined up. I am being careful on lining it up because this is going to be the top part of my die cut and part of my card. So I do want to make sure that it looks nice and lined up. You see there, it turned out really good. And then magically I have two now, and this one, the second one, is bigger, but I am going to trim it to size. I just I'm going to offset these, and so I didn't know exactly how I wanted to offset it when I cut the panel out, so I cut it to A2 size, well, A2 width size, and then I'm just going to trim it down. So this one didn't, the second one is just out of a colored cardstock, It's Recollections brand. I don't know what, it doesn't have like a name of a color, but it's just a Recollections brand. It didn't line up quite where I lined up the dies, but it's not a huge deal because, like I said, I'm just layering it here, and there is going to be an image over the top of it, so it doesn't matter that it didn't line up perfectly. So magically, I cut it off screen. It all lines up now. Well, it doesn't line up, but you know what I mean? The edges all line up. I cut off the excess. And now we're going to glue this to some Craft Perfect cardstock. It's going to pop up here in a minute. Blue Frost. There we go. And it is a pearlescent cardstock that I had in my stash from one of my old tonic kits. And so I just thought that would be pretty. As you can see, I didn't cut that the right size either. I am terrible with these slimline sizes. A2 size panels, you know, I can cut the matting layers and everything, all good. These slimline cards, these sizes totally throw me off, guys. But this is only the second card I think I've made with the slimline, maybe third, I don't remember. So now I've got this the new Trinity Stamps Hello There set, and I'm just using the sentiment right now. You will see the little gnome from the Hello There set later on, but I'm just going to stamp the sentiment for now, and I do cut it off screen with a small circle die. And then we've got the blooming bunch, and I'm going to use the butterflies on the inside of my card. Again, you will see the blooming bunch a little later in the video. Well, you probably saw it in the finished pictures at the beginning of the video too, but but you will see the image later in the video as well. So I'm just stamping those on the inside, and then I'm taking it, as you know I like to do, I'm taking a little scrap of that blue frost and putting that on the inside of my card. So if you've been here before, you have seen this. If you haven't, this is what I like to do. I like to take those little scraps sometimes because I cut my panel the wrong size this time. But usually, if I'm cutting down the card front, I will take those little scraps and put them in. But since I cut this panel the wrong size, I did have a little scrap. So I'm just gluing down my panel here, getting that adhered. We're going to press it down, and then I will have my focal image out here in a minute. And I'm sorry to disappoint some of you, but I did not do any coloring in this video. I had a night where I wasn't feeling so well, and I colored this image up in front of the TV, all comfortable in my recliner. And so when I was making this card, I was looking at it sitting on my desk, and I thought, well, this would look really nice on this card. So that's what happened here. So I'm sorry that you did not get to see me color this on screen. But I took the Hello There gnome and the blooming bunch stamp, and I masked the gnome and stamped the blooming bunch behind him. And so that's where this image came from. But I will have the Copic colors listed in the, on my blog post, which is, the blog post will be in the description box below. So if you want to know the colors for that, that will be over there. These butterflies, I believe, came from the Blooming Bunch. Both the gnome set and the Hello There and the Blooming Bunch both have butterflies. So I don't remember if they all came from the Blooming Bunch or if I mixed them up. I don't remember, but they both have butterflies, so that's where they came from, is either one or both of those sets. And then the little gemstones that I'm about to glue on, these are from Trinity Stamps as well. And I got these from the Create an Inkspire July kit. And they are gorgeous. They're like little clear iridescent jewels. And they show up, they kind of like, the color behind them shows up in the jewel, so they're really pretty. Whatever color that you put them on shows up, and they're just really pretty. So I'm just putting on the last one here. And then I've got my DIY shimmer spray. I was almost out, so it kind of like splattered all over my card, which is not usually how that happens, but I refilled it after this video, so. And you'll see it right there. It's kind of all splattered all over my gnome, which is not the effect that I had really intended to have there, but that's all right. It's still pretty. So that finishes off the card for today. Don't forget to head on over to Renee's channel if you haven't already. The link will be in the description box below. I hope that you enjoyed the card today and the use of spreading the A2 die across the slimline card and offsetting it. And as always, have a great day.